Hello everybody, this is Lauren-Rae, and this is Skein 5 of the All Wound Up podcast. It is Sunday, April 29th, and I think it is finally spring. You can find me on Instagram as lore.romero and on Ravelry as mystrel. I just posted a full stash shot yesterday on my Instagram, so if you want to check that out, that's cool. I also do have a Facebook group which can be found by searching All Wound Up Podcast on Facebook, and I would love and appreciate if you would like, follow, subscribe on any of the platforms where this video is available. I just had an explosion happen. I have Feisty Cherry Coke in my Jargo water bottle, which is a mason jar with a fancy little plastic lid on top, and I forgot that carbonated liquids make lids explode. So there we go. Anyway, you can like this video on YouTube, give it a little thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate that. You can also, like I said, like the page on Facebook. There's not much over there, but you know, there is some time that I will be posting stuff there. I do not, as of yet, have a Ravelry group. I haven't decided if I want to go that way or make a Facebook group instead. I am more active on Facebook than I am on Ravelry. So, in the last 2 weeks, I worked at a Groovy Hues Fibers trunk show, which was coming up the last time I podcasted, and that was at the Yarn Attic in Hillsborough, New Jersey, with the owner of Groovy Hues Fibers, who was Suzanne Nelson, one of my really close friends, and the owner of the shop. Her name is Rhonda. She's kind of awesome, and her shop is set up in a really interesting way. So she has 2 levels. It's kind of like in a ranch house or a split level house. The first level, where you walk in the front door, is all of the fingering and worsted yarn, I believe, and then downstairs on the lower level is sport and DK. I think bulky is upstairs, but I'm not 100% sure. And so it's really easy to find what you need, and her staff is incredibly helpful, and they have lots and lots of up-to-date and relevant shop samples that really are an inspiration and help you to choose what you want to buy while you're in there, because they have so much stuff, and they're, you know, nice and helpful. It's definitely a very reachable, friendly shop. So if you are ever in Hillsborough, New Jersey, you should check them out, the Yarn Attic. I have been spending a lot of time finishing up my swap box for my spring swap or summer swap. It's April to June is our shopping period, and then the opening day is in June, so we'll see. I have a custom pattern on order for my person, and I have pretty much everything else put together except for a tasty treat that I want to buy right before I ship so that it doesn't get stale. And I do still have to knit my Lars Rain cowl out of this beautiful lamb strings yarn, but I haven't started it yet, as you can tell by the fact that the yarn is still in hank form. So I'll get there eventually. I will do a video tour of my swap partner's box before I ship it, but I won't share that until after the opening day, just in case my swap partner does watch this video. I don't want her to see it before it's all ready to go. I've also been doing lots of proctoring, the ACT and the SAT. The April versions of the test were given in the last 2 weeks, so there's been quite a bit of proctoring going on in my life. And something that's really exciting to me is I went to Yonkers Pottery and I signed up for a membership. So I'll be getting back on the pottery wheel and hopefully making, in addition to awesome yarn bowls, some functional, useful pieces of pottery that I will be in the future able to sell, I hope. We'll see how it goes. It seems like a very friendly, nice little studio. If you are in the Yonkers area and you wanted to check it out, they offer classes, or if you know what you're doing already in terms of working with the wheel and glazing and all that stuff, you can sign up for a membership, which allows you more flexibility in terms of what you're doing than just taking a class. They do workshops, they have raku firings. It's pretty cool. It seems like a good space. And I'm hoping that I am able to make that work so that I'm able to get back to doing another craft that I love, because as much as I love knitting, I do also like to play in the mud and, make some pottery. So I'll show some of my work in terms of pottery in the future, but as of right now, I have the pieces that I have that I've made are older. I made them in high school and college, so I'm 31 now. They're not current, but it is really my first crafting love, and I will always be a knitter, but I would love to get back to playing in the mud, like I said. So hopefully I am able to do something with that and keep it relevant both to me and to knitting. So we'll see. This will definitely always be a knitting podcast, though, so pretty much what you'll see on here in terms of pottery will probably be yarn bowls, but we'll see. Anyway, third podcast in a row that I have no finished objects. I'm in the midst of working on some larger projects, but as Jamie of the Strings and More podcast says, big fat fail. I did a big fat fail. 6 weeks in a row, 3 podcasts in a row. No finished objects. I'm wearing my Stormy Sky shawl made out of O Industry, but I had already finished this, I think, when I started recording, or right after I started recording, but I love it, so I'll wear it. Okay, I'm going to start with whips this week. I have quite a lot of acquisitions because when I was at the yarn attic, my yarn diet kind of went out the window, and I did get, my mother had ordered a birthday gift for me, and it came in the mail right after the last podcast. So she got me this, which you can kind of see. I don't know if I showed it last week. It's a Pira necklace. They're made out of Victorian wax seals, and this one is a rose, and I'd already had a unicorn, so she got me that. But she had also ordered me a sweater quantity of yarn, which I'll show off later. Anyway, whips. So this is my Laura Ayler Designs bag. It is the Game of Thrones bag, which I love. It has beautiful embroidery along the top in a detail, and it has that D-ring strap. Something that I noticed about this bag since I started working on this test knit is that it fits 8x10 paper, so I have a manila folder in there with my pattern living in it. What I'm working on out of this bag is a test knit for Marzena Kołaczek, and you can find her on Instagram as Uchimurki, and that would be the best place to go so that you know when this pattern is released if you're interested in knitting it. This is called the Lea Sweater, Lea, Lea, and it is in a very dark shade of navy, so it is a little bit difficult. Oh no, you can see it quite well. The yarn has a lot of stitch definition. I'm using quince&co Finch in the Peacoat colorway, so it's a very rich, dark navy. And I've just gotten past the yoke, which is done in lace work, and it has garter bordering the lace work, so it is quite stretchy. And that was done on my Knitter's Pride Dreams 2.5 wood needles. It called for 2.5s for the top, and now I have, since I've divided for the sleeves, switched to Chowgu red lace in size 4. That's what I needed to get gauge, and that's what the pattern called for. So far I'm having a lot of fun knitting this, and I know that now that I've gotten past the garter into a stockinette stitch section, and since I've removed quite a few stitches, it will go much faster. So this is due by May 14th, so I have the body of the sweater, the ribbing on the bottom, and the sleeves. I'm hoping that I can do it. If I make this my primary knit, and now that there's no lace chart or, worrying about dividing for the sleeves on the go, I think I can bring this with me out and about more. I have a Progress Keeper. This is where I was last podcast, and this is a Fruit Tart by Pitter Patter Polymer. In addition to that, I have set from the first stockinette row, another Progress Keeper. This is a Rainbow Sprinkle Donut, but also by Pitter Patter Polymer, and that is because we have to measure from the armpit down, and I didn't even think about the fact that the armpit down is where the stockinette section starts, so I may take that one off, just to avoid having extra stuff dangling around in front of me. I do have a stitch marker marking the beginning and end of the round, and that is my Rainbow Sheep from Two Sticks and You, and that's an enamel stitch marker. So I have about 2 weeks to finish this, and I think it will be possible. I think I will be able to do it, especially because the wool I'm using is not superwash, so I've been able to spit splice. So I know that that means that I will not have nearly as many ends to weave in as I would if I were using superwash or something that couldn't be spit spliced. This is my first time doing spit splices in a project, and I have to say I love it. I did follow a tutorial. I think it's Pink Knits. I'm not sure. I'll put a link to what I followed. It is very simple to do a spit splice. I'd never been able to make it work because I always tried it on superwash wool, not realizing that that wouldn't felt and that it would be a waste of time. So I hadn't tried it in a long time, but this is not superwash. It's, like I said, the quince&co Finch base. It's American wool that's milled and dyed in the U.S., and it is definitely something that can, stretch quite a bit. It has quite a bit of stretch, and I'm just really enjoying knitting with it. I think I will be working with quince&co again. Anyway, so that's whip number 1, is my Lea Pullover, and 2 weeks. So hopefully by the next podcast, that is nearly done, and I have, hopefully probably just about a little bit more than one sleeve done. Hopefully, because I should be podcasting before the 14th. The 14th is a Monday. Actually, hopefully it'll be a finished object next podcast. Okay. Next whip is in a bag by Otterly Adorable Knits. I have notes today, like extensive notes. It's in a bag by Otterly Adorable Knits. It is my birthday cast on, the Taumini shawl, and it has grown substantially since the last time I showed it on the podcast. This is the shawl that caused all sorts of... I'm in the middle of a row. Oh, right, because I had a mistake that I needed to correct. Okay, I feel less bad about being in the middle of a row. It is the Taumini shawl. Taumini, I want to say Taumini. By Aroha Knits, and it is a crescent-shaped shawl. Worked flat. The last time we saw each other, the last time I podcasted, I was right up here with the adorable turtle sandbox stitch marker by Pitter Patter Polymer. I love this. It's adorable. It reminds me of being a little kid. But I've gotten quite far compared to there. I did start my texture row early. So if you look here, that is what the texture row looks like. It comes in between each section, either stockinette section or eyelet section. And I started a row early, so I just have to tink back half a row, and then I'll be back on track. It's just a purl row that I'll have to redo. This yarn is Heavenly and Groovin by Groovy Hues Fibers. It is my special 30th birthday colorway. It's called Lauren-Rae. We will see if Suzanne releases this. She may rename it because I feel like nobody wants a colorway named Lauren-Rae. They'll be like, why? So this is special yarn to me, and I love how it's knitting up. So can't wait to see that. This is on my size 6 signature needles with my name right there on them. And it's on a 32-inch cord. I do have a 47-inch cord as well, so I will probably switch it over when it starts to get bunched up. I had started it on that 47-inch cord 6 times and was getting all tangled up in it. So it's finally about time to use that, and hopefully it goes better this time because I don't want to rip out all that shawl. Okay, next whip is a new cast on. It's in my Darn Yarn MN bag. Maybe it's Darn Yarn Minnesota. I don't know. I should find out. But it's in my Darn Yarn bag that I bought from the Apothecary booth at the Allentown Fiber Festival with the vegan leather strap. And that vegan leather strap has actually stretched out a bit as I've been using it, so I can fit it over a wrist now, which is good. When I first bought it, it was a little bit too tight, but I've been playing with it to stretch it out, and it has been working. This is a lace weight project that I cast on at the Yarn Attic trunk show with Groovy Hues. It is the lightly Groovin base, and the colorway is Holy Mother of Pearl. It's a very delicate color and a very delicate yarn. While we were there, Suzanne had only brought maybe 8 skeins, maybe even less, of lace weight yarn to both Allentown and the Yarn Attic trunk show, because it doesn't really move that much. People seem to be afraid of it. So she asked if I would cast something on. She knows I've worked with lace weight before. She asked if I would cast something, anything on. And again, I'm in the middle of a row. I'm sorry. Big fat fail again. Right, Jamie? So she asked me if I would cast something on, just to show people that you don't need to be afraid of lace weight. Just because you're using a lace weight yarn does not mean that you are doing something crazy intricate. So what I have is, this is the Urban Chic Shawl by Yumiko Alexander, and it is designed to be done with sport weight. So I cast on 2 extra repeats of the pattern, and I went down 2 needle sizes so that I wouldn't be swimming in this pattern. It is on my first ever pair of Knitter's Pride carbons, and they're a little bit grippy here from the carbon fiber, but I'm noticing that the joins where the metal come together with the carbon fiber is it's a little bit rough, so I may be switching this to some sort of different needle to try and avoid that, or I may keep going on this just to see. We'll see. But I'm liking how it's working up so far. Basically, the Urban Chic pattern is an all-over eyelet rectangle. Very simple to do. It's a lot of knit 2 together, yarn over. That's how eyelets are made. I'm not giving much away about the pattern, even though it's paid. But every few rows, there are these little puckers that pull together some of the eyelets. And I figured that this would be a good lightweight spring and summer shawl that I could use, or even wear it in the winter. I find sometimes that when I'm wearing a shawl with a winter sweater or something like that, I'm sorry, I'm all bunched up, with a winter sweater or something like that, I do get warm. So having something like this will be good. Oh, it looks like it goes with the colorway behind me, but I know it doesn't actually in real life. No. So I'm looking forward to working on this. I'm also thinking that it'll be good to work on when the weather gets even warmer. I know we're supposed to have a couple of 80-degree days next week. Yeah. So lightly Groovin, the lace weight base is it's actually a merino, 80% merino and 20% silk base. So if you wanted to check that out, this is the same combination of fiber as the silky shawl length skeins that Suzanne sells and that some other indie dyers sell. I can't reach mine. It's all the way up there in this cubby to show you, but it has beautiful drape and beautiful sheen, so it's fun to work with. And you shouldn't be afraid of lace weight. It's just skinny. It's fine. But if you're working a lace pattern with it, you're frequently on big needles. And when you make something on big needles, it tends to move. Like this shawl, this is on size 9 needles and fingering weight, and it was fast. You shouldn't be afraid of lace weight. You shouldn't be afraid of the lighter weights. Even if you have something like arthritis in your hands where handling the finer weight yarns is a problem, you may find that you're able to do it if you're working on the thicker needles that you would be using with a worsted or a DK, because you're not doing that teeny tiny needle death grip. It is not. I'm reaching into my needle box to try and find something. Okay, so these are 2s. So this is something that you would normally consider working with a lace weight or a fingering weight if you wanted a closed gauge. But look at the size difference, right? Even if you have something that keeps your hands from gripping these teeny tiny needles, you can work with a finer weight yarn on a bigger needle, and you just get an easy open work kind of thing going on without even having to try to get that. If you worked that on this, it would be a nightmare, but working it on the big needles, it really does make it so that it's accessible to everyone at every level. This is a beginner pattern for sure, and you could definitely work it and come up with something from lace weight. So it's something to keep in mind. I'm rambling now about lace weight, but okay. I might actually, though, switch the pattern. I might switch to something fancier and foo-foo. I just wanted something for sure that I could knit without worrying about it in front of people, without having to count and do lace charts. But I think I really might stick with this because I'm liking, the 2 rows that I have, how it looks worked up. So we'll see. Okay, so I do have 2 whips that are sort of lightly napping, sort of sleeping. I have the 003 A-line cardigan, 003 A-line camisole. That's by Veronica Jobe. That's the celery green silk that I was working on, and I will be getting back to working on that because I plan to enter it into a knit along. The Girls in the Yarn Cafe podcast is hosting a Those Summer Knits knit along. You can enter into that DK or lighter weight yarn. It has to be. And it's for short sleeve tops, tanks, light summer shawls, shorts. And then they were discussing possibly having a separate category for shorty socks. But I don't know about that. I don't know if they decided to do it or not. Tristan was advocating for more socks, so possibly. But I'm definitely going to be entering the 003 camisole into that. It started April 1st, and I'm not sure when it ends, so we'll see if I am actually able to enter it, if I actually finish it in time. But they usually have some pretty awesome prizes available if you follow their podcast, which you should, because Tristan and Christy are adorable, and they really play off each other very well. Yeah. So I'm going to be entering that camisole into their knit along. And then the other sleepy, not hibernating whip that I have is the Multi-Directional cardigan by Veera Välimäki that I started out of Miss Bab's yarn, and I had started it on the wrong size needle and had to restart. But then I got involved in a test knit and lost track of time. So I might be entering that into Jamie and Shanna's podcast, Strings and More, is hosting a cardigan along, and you can knit any cardigan, but I don't know that I'll be able to finish it in time because of the time commitment from the test knit. They wanted to end it in June, but they were still discussing whether that would be the ultimate end date, so we'll see if I'm able to do that. I don't know that I could knit a cardigan in 6 weeks, especially not one with that complicated construction. But I did have another thought while I was getting ready to podcast last night, which is why I have a post-it instead of having this built into my notes. I have this. This is another Otterly Adorable Knits project bag. I call this my Derpy Dragons project bag. Look at him. He just looks so, he's angry, but he just doesn't look like he's going to be very effective at being angry, being a dragon. I call him my Derpy Dragon. And then look at the bats. They're just like, what are you doing, dragon? They look so exasperated. I call that my bad guys one. I took this one out as well because this is the good guys bag that goes with it. These are large drawstring bags. So I've got the derpy dragon and then like the silly unicorn and bunny and frog and owls that go with it. I just had to take it out to show off to go with this. They're large drawstring bags by Otterly Adorable Knits. And inside of this large drawstring bag is a project that has been in hibernation. I'm using Lace by Borgo de Pazzi in this sort of pinky, purpley, fuchsia-y color. It's pretty. It is so soft. It's extra fine merino, and it is, when this came in, I bought this when I was working at the Knitting Cove in Port Jeff, and when this came in, I remember putting it out on the shelf. It's so soft. I was squishing this yarn for quite a while. But this is my featherweight, and I am past where you divide for the sleeves, and this is done out of lace weight. I'm past where you divide for the sleeves, and I put this into hibernation because I realized I was twisting my purl stitches, and I was told later, oh well, you can compensate for that by knitting through the back loop, but I didn't want to do that. So I have down past where the sleeves divide by, about 2 inches, but it's all twisted. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, the stitches are all twisted. So what I'm thinking I might do, especially if I decide to enter this into that knit along, it is so soft and so drapey, is I might switch from here down and knit the rest of the body in regular stockinette without twisting my purl stitches, and knit the sleeves in the twisted and call it a design element. I might. We'll see. I do really like the color. I was asking advice on an outfit that I should wear to my cousin's 50th birthday party, and I have a skirt that has this raspberry color in it, and everybody was like, oh, why don't you have a sweater to go with that in that color? And I'm like, well, I do. It's just teeny tiny. It's like a bolero with no sleeves. But it is something that I could consider entering in to the cardigan along. And it is something that I would like to finish. It used to have progress keepers on it, and it's been in hibernation for a while, at least a year, probably 2. I could check my Ravelry project page to see when I cast it on, but I kind of lost my mojo when I realized I was twisting my stitches, and I don't know. Apparently I have podcasts that I should watch hanging out on here. So I'll be checking those out. But yeah, I might break this back out and start working on it for that knit along, but I don't necessarily know that I will. I might want to just rip it out and start over, or even use the yarn for something else. I'm not sure. I was really frustrated when I realized what I was doing and what it was causing, like why it was causing my knit rows to be a pain to do. It was hard to get the needle through and into it. I'm using size 6 Haya sharps for this because I said, oh, maybe it's my wooden needles having too dull of a tip. So I bought the sharpest needles I could find, and I don't know. I have to see how I feel about it when I start doing it right, and I have to see if it's something that I even feel like picking up again, or if I just undo it and use the yarn for something else, because I have like 2,400 yards of this. I have 3 skeins. I think they're about 800 yards each, so it is something to consider and possibly enter in to a knit along, but possibly not sure. Okay, so that's pretty much all of my whips. I do have 3 or 4 others, but I haven't touched them since the last podcast, or since before I started podcasting for some of them even. And I didn't see any cowls, not cowls, that would make them relevant to talk about with no progress being made on them. So they're not even in this room. Okay. It's time for acquisitions. If any of you looked at the picture of my setup before podcasting, there's a lot of yarn over here to my left. A lot. An embarrassing amount. my yarn diet pretty much went out the window. I was doing so well at taking in less than I was putting out. I wasn't on a yarn fast. I may have to start a fast because there's a lot of yarn over there. And I'm going to start showing it to you. So I'll start off with my birthday yarn from my mother. This is by Inked Sheep Fibers, and they came up on my Instagram, and I fell in love with this yarn. I asked my mom if she would purchase it for me for my birthday. So let me see if I can twist it so that you can see all of the beautiful colors. Yes, like that. This is an Aries colorway. My birthday is April 13th, and I am therefore an Aries. And this is what it looks like. Usually, I find that things designed for my birthstone, which is a diamond, or my zodiac are pretty boring. Birthstone things tend to be white, plain white, and that gets pretty boring pretty fast. And Aries things are usually just bright red and orange. This Aries yarn features teal and rich browns, and even a pea green is in there, and there are speckles, and it's got so much depth compared to what I've seen in the past for my zodiac sign. So I just fell in love with it. And it is a limited edition colorway, so if you wanted to get it, I think she's done. I think she said April 19th. It might be back next year, I'm not sure. But it's by Inked Sheep Fibers. It's her 4-ply sock base, and it's 463 yards of 75/25 merino nylon. It's eventually, I've made a plan for it. Most of the yarn that I have next to me, I have a plan for. This will become a long line cardigan by Jobe Locatelli. I'll have to alternate skeins because of how heavily variegated it is, but that's acquisition number 1. I didn't buy this. This was a gift. That's how I'm justifying this. I'm not really doing a good job at justifying it even to myself, so I feel like a yarn pig in addition to a yarn snob. So I've got that. Then this skein is for a special cause. The Girls in the Yarn Cafe, the podcast that I mentioned before that's hosting the Those Summer Knits Cal, is also in the midst of, they're wrapping up right now, a campaign called There's Room for Everyone. And Christy, who is the dyer behind Yarn Cafe Creations, released this set. This is a sock set. It's on her biscotti base. It's 85/15 superwash to nylon. It is so soft. It came with a full skein and a mini to make a pair of socks, but I might do something else with it because I don't tend to do well with knitting socks. I never finish them. And the proceeds for this went to the Cyber Smile Foundation. So buying this helped to put a stop to cyberbullying. It came with a progress keeper. I'll hold this up for a little while so that you can read it if you want to. This is a ball of yarn shaped like the earth and painted to look like the earth. If you want to read this all, you should pause now because I'm taking it away. They donated to a good cause. I felt that I needed to purchase this. And I did not just purchase the one set. I purchased a second set, which I will use as my eventual 100 followers giveaway. So you will have a chance to get this. The set that is it's not available anymore, especially not with the Progress Keeper. That was a special limited run. This will be my 100 followers giveaway. So you will know that if you are following me, subscribing to me on YouTube, you will have a chance to win this, which you cannot get anymore. And you'll have a donation that was made to a good cause in your name. So consider that. Keep that in mind when you choose whether or not to subscribe. But this is beautiful and very soft, and it was an excellent cause that they chose. So I had to buy that. There was no question. That had to be done. Okay. The next set of stuff I had, I didn't really have to buy. Like I said, I was at the yarn attic with Groovy Hues Fibers for the New Jersey Wool Walk, and that meant that I spent 2 full days in a beautiful yarn shop full of beautifully curated yarns and fiber and wonderful things. And I have no self-control. So, the first thing I purchased, I put this aside while we were setting up. This was the Groovy Hues Fibers exclusive colorway for the show. This is on her Bambooin and Groovin base. This is called Modern Abstract. A flamingo protests this endless winter. So I had sent Suzanne a picture of flamingos on the beach and said, you should do this as your inspiration for the exclusive colorway, and she did. So I had to buy a skein. Had to. No matter what. I was obligated. They forced me at knife point. Anyway, so I have this flamingo skein on Bambooin and Groovin. It's very, very soft. Suzanne had an update yesterday. The shop owner released the remaining 10 skeins to Suzanne, so they were available at groovyhuesfibers.com. I believe they sold out, but if you wanted one, you could check that out and see if it's still available. It is a very pretty colorway. The bamboo takes the dye in a sort of light-ish wash, so even though it's saturated, it has a different look than something that's 100% merino or even a merino nylon blend. So I do like this. There is nylon in it. It can become socks, or it could become something else. Possibly something to go out near my face. We'll see. Anyway, or even a gift. I have a couple people in my life who would like this colorway a lot. So there's that. It is pretty. It is soft. Suzanne does stock this base. It's one that she doesn't dye a lot, but it's really nice, and I really like it. So I ripped the tag off because I purchased a second skein for a friend, because there were enough left to do that. So flamingo protesting this endless winter. And you will find, hopefully, within the next 2 weeks for next podcast, my acrylic yarn lives back in these 2 boxes over here. I plan on bringing up, I have at my mom's house on Long Island. Oop, there's the Bronx. There's Long Island. I have at my mom's house on Long Island 2 lawn flamingos that I purchased when the original Lawn Flamingo company was stopping making them. You can't get lawn flamingos from the original mold anymore. I have 2 that were from the original mold, and I'm thinking that they should the acrylic yarn, because plastic guards plastic, right? Okay. Like begets like. And I'm not saying it's bad yarn, it's just that happens to be where my acrylic lives. Except this is acrylic up here. Some of this is from Michael's. It's their Woolies Loops and Strings something. I don't know. It's nice. Anyway, bamboo. Also, in the yarn attic, they stock biscuit yarns. So I purchased a skein of self-striping yarn from them. This will have to be socks, I think, so that it works up into the appropriate design. But this is called Apple Core, or Coeur de Pomme. So it's in French. They're a Canadian company. This is also an 85-15 blend, like the Yarn Cafe Creations blend. They are both incredibly soft. I think I see a lot more 85-15 blends in my life because of how soft this is. It's incredible. Yeah, so it knits up like an apple core. And since I am technically a teacher, I decided I needed it, right? Teach your feet. Next, I purchased from Hypnotic Yarn a skein of Victorian Museum, and it's on the Treat Your Feet base, which is 80% merino and 20% nylon. I'm going to make this into a shawl. Like I said, I have plans for most of what I bought. I really do. I'm thinking that this one will become a Twist My Stripes shawl. It was available on Ravelry as a free pattern. It may have become a paid pattern. because it was part of a yarn crawl, but I downloaded it and added it to my library, so I'll be able to knit this. It is a mostly one color, but with some stripes of contrast color shawl it's a triangle that I will eventually make. And wear and love when I make it. So there's that. And my final purchase at the yarn crawl, or wool walk, sorry, was for a shawl that I'd been eyeing for a long time. I plan to make the Eden Prairie shawl. And the Eden Prairie shawl is by, I'm looking on my sheet, Nancy Whitman. And it is a stained glass looking shawl. I originally thought it was done in intarsia, and I was overwhelmed by it, but I found out you knit it in pieces and pick up stitches, and I can do that. So I had to purchase yarn for that. So this is Ba brand yarn in the La Jolla base, and I have the marigold color, amethyst, Maldives, and black pearl, and those will be used in my Eden Prairie when I get around to knitting it. It looks like stained glass. I've been in love with this shawl for a long time. It's way back in my favorites, and I was overwhelmed by the idea of doing it, but I think it's finally reachable now that I know how it's set up. So I have 4 skeins, which is what you need. I will not use all of this one or this one, but I definitely will be making that at some point in the future. I'm only about halfway through my acquisitions. I really feel like a yarn pig. Anyway, the next thing that I purchased was a kit to make Joji Locatelli's Free Your Fade. So I had to buy all 5 skeins at once. I looked through my sock yarn or fingering weight yarn that I didn't have plans for, and I did hope to find a fade in that, but I really didn't. So I purchased this. I saw it on Instagram. This was the fade kit that I fell in love with. So yeah, I purchased this. This is the Aloha Mora fade kit, and each yarn is named after a Harry Potter character. So we go Sirius Black, Rubeus Hagrid, Severus Snape, then Remus Lupin, and finishing with Albus Dumbledore. That's the yellowest one. So hopefully I'm able to knit that up into the not Find Your Fade. I have to finish my Find Your Fade first. Fading Point. I'm going to make a fading point out of these by Joji Locatelli. This is the Zeus base, the Aloha Mora fade kit. She does still have them available. I saw her posting on Instagram about it earlier today. But I think that this is going to make an excellent fading point. I think I'm going to love it. So there it is. All 5 skeins. And when I bought this did not just come with 5 skeins of yarn, which would have been more than enough and, just fine. She also included a Color is Power Trey Liz project bag. It's a small canvas drawstring bag, which would be useful for socks or cowls or small projects, but I think it's going to be good. I can use it even when I'm starting the fading point, or if I just want to carry 1/2 of it around with just the yarn that I'm working with, so that should be good. And she included a pattern for the Cyclades. She's in Greece, so I'm not sure. And that is a ponchette. So it's a small, little tiny poncho. Looks kind of like a cowl shawl combo. I think it should be interesting to knit, actually. I am kind of interested in that, and perhaps flamingo one, maybe. So that is a pretty cool thing to include. I wasn't expecting a pattern or a project bag. This is charted and written. It's a short poncho. It's named after some Greek islands. Yeah. Anyway, it was designed for Trey Liz yarn, but not by the dyer. So, something to keep in mind, to look up. I don't know if it's on Ravelry or not, but it is a cute little pattern, so I should probably be making it. The last yarns that I have, I did not buy. I earned. I worked the Allentown Fiber Festival and the Yarn Addict Trunk Show with Suzanne from Groovy Hues, and she told me that she would pay me in yarn or money. If she paid me in money, I would probably buy yarn, so I decided to go the yarn option. So I chose some colors that hadn't sold at the Yarn Addict Trunk Show, and I really have to say, people, what were you thinking? Why didn't you buy these? So anyway, on the Twisted and Groovin base, which is an 80/20 merino nylon, I feel like I'm talking so much about stuff that I bought and got, sorry. Twisted and Groovin base, which is an 80/20 merino nylon blend, I have Josh Groban as my secret boyfriend. Josh Groban is Suzanne's secret boyfriend. She can have him, but the colorway is gorgeous. So, I have 2 skeins of that. That'll probably become a shawl because of who I am as a person and who I am as a knitter. But we'll see. I might use it for something else. It might become hat, cowl, mitt set. I don't know. But I've got that. It's kind of like the grown-up version of the flamingo colorway. I feel like this is bright and fun and kid-like. And then this is like the adultified version. But I've got them. Then I chose 2 colors of the Cuddly and Groovin. That's a 75/25 merino nylon blend. It's her other sock base. So this color is After Midnight. This is one of her first batches of solids for shows. So After Midnight. And then, who drank all the Kool-Aid? It's got rainbowy speckles all throughout on a natural base. I quite like it. I'm going to pair the 2 of them together. And I believe the shawl that I said I was going to make out of them is called Fele, but I'm not 100% sure because it is in Gaelic or Celtic or something that I can't remember the pronunciation of. The pronunciation is written out on Ravelry, and I will be putting the link to the pattern in the project page, in the show notes down there. So you will see the pronunciation. I think I have it right. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. The final yarn that I have to show you is something, again, why didn't this sell? This is on the Yakin and Groovin base. So this is 70% merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon. The colorway is called Sanguinarian Delight. I have a sweater quantity of this yarn. Why is it getting blown out? Why did nobody... That's sort of it. It's a deep, like oxblood kind of color. Sanguinarian Delight. It looks better back here than it did up. Anyway, this is a sweater quantity of this yarn. I'm going to be making for not this coming Christmas, but the Christmas after. This will be my Christmas sweater. The Victoria Pullover that's in the Refined Knits book. I purchased that book 2 years ago at Ravelry, and it's full of beautiful patterns that combine lace and cables. So I will be making the Victoria Pullover. It has a lace panel in the front, and then small triangular lace cable insets at the top by the shoulders. It has sort of a boat neck, and I've been wanting to make it. I hadn't found yarn for it. But then this didn't sell. Again, people, why? I mean, thank you for letting me have it, but why? It's beautiful. So anyway, that'll be a Christmas sweater for me, because I can. I hope. There's that. I do have, that is a giant pile of yarn off to my right. Holy cow. I do have an acquisition that's not fiber related. That I want to show you. I have a friend from World of Warcraft. She played a mage. She was an excellent mage. And she just recently got back into the game, so she still plays a mage, I guess. Her name is Trish, and she makes these little things called Timid Monsters. So here's her card. She has an Etsy shop. It is trishcheck.etsy.com, but you can also visit these monsters at timidmonsters.com. And her tagline is, because not all art should be serious. So these things are adorable. Each one comes with its own story. This one I already had. I just wanted to bring out another example. This is Etch, the timid monster. Etch, the timid monster, feels encouraged in his pursuit of that heavenly being you call the cat. When he brought her a bouquet of grass clippings, she, rather unconventionally, ate it. He felt it only polite to eat her gift in kind. Never mind, it was a dead fly. So this is Etch. I have these all over my apartment. They are hiding amongst all sorts of things in curios and on shelves. But this is Etch. That's one that I already had. This is one that I just recently got. Her name is Gretchen. It's another cat one. That's me, not them. They don't all have cat-related stories, but here's Gretchen. And her story is, Gretchen the timid monster can't believe the cat's been shaved. Why would someone do that? Everyone knows waxing is the way to defer a feline. So that's Gretchen. She looks aghast. She's horrified that somebody would shave the poor cat rather than waxing. So that was the new one that I got. But she does have a new item. She recently purchased a laser engraving type printer, so it can cut out wood and do all kinds of fun things. So I purchased this. You can purchase them flat. They come in pieces or pre-assembled, and she will glue it together for you and make sure it works. It is a timid monster house. I have 2 monsters that live in it. I took them out to bring it in here to show you. Look at this guy. He's got little warts all over him. Super cute. So yeah, I will probably be keeping this one in here somewhere, maybe up on that shelf there. But I just really think that they're absolutely adorable and that you should go and check them out. She sells mostly these monsters, but she does also sell jars of 13 black cats, bad luck jars. I carry mine as a good luck charm sometimes, but they're adorable. All of her stuff is adorable. So you should check her out, just because she's awesome. So yeah, that's really it. I'm going to be, in the next 2 weeks, trying to work on my Lea and finishing that up, and hopefully getting into the pottery studio and going back to my roots a little bit. I'll be starting out with small forms to get my feet wet, and hopefully be making some yarn bowls pretty soon. The reason that I won't be starting with yarn bowls is I'm not familiar with the clay bases they have. Like yarn bases, clay bases act differently. So like if I were knitting something out of this bamboo, it's going to have a different drape than the yak. So I'm not really sure how their clay bases work, and I'm going to fiddle around with them a little bit and see what I like. But they react differently. So when you cut out the little channels, the little grooves that the yarn gets threaded through, different clays are going to react in different ways. Some of them are going to warp and twist, and you're going to wind up with a bowl that doesn't line up exactly. And I need to figure out what the best way to do that with their bases is. Yeah, so usually you're going to wait for it to dry a little bit. There's a matter of how dry do you let it get. It's like how aggressively do you block an object. It's, important to figure out before you try to do it on a grand scale. So I'm going to be starting out there and hopefully showing off some ceramics too, some pottery. Anyway, I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for joining me. Please feel free to like this video if you liked what you saw, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that we get closer to being able to give away this Yarn Cafe Creations set with the stitch marker. You will get the stitch marker giveaway, folks. So I was at 32 subscribers, 31 subscribers the last time I looked. We're making it there. slowly but surely. So please feel free to like and subscribe. I hope to see you again in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining me. Bye.